Tonight, Ghana's economic paradox: growth on paper, pain on streets.
Close to approximately 13.2% of the population were food insecure. So all these things overall, we've seen the economy in the right direction, but we are not seeing this translating to greater poverty reduction.
President Mahama's government makes economic gains, but some experts say lives remain unchanged. Tonight on Top Story, we assess President Mahama's stabilization success in his first year in office and ask how that can lift Ghana's poor. There's a Stop Story brought to you always by Telecel Connecting Energies, also by Holy Insecticide Spray and Coil, and by Shield Pension Trust. Into the future with you. Tonight, the President John Dramani Mahama's first year in office has shown promising economic signs with notable improvement in inflation, exchange rates, and GDP growth. Inflation dropped from 23.8% in December 2024 to 5.4% by December 2025. That quite a jump there, or a drop there, while the Ghana cedi strengthened against major currencies, gaining over 40% against the US dollar. The economy has expanded by 5.5% in the first 3 quarters of 2025, marking the fastest pace since 2019. However, Professor Godfred Bokping, a finance and economics expert, points out that these gains haven't translated into meaningful poverty reduction. Unemployment remains high, especially among women and youth, with over 14% of the population unemployed and 13.2% food insecure. And all of this is coming at a period that the Ghana's reserves has risen, we are told, to some $13 billion. But Professor Bokpin says sustaining these gains and ensuring inclusive growth is crucial.
Yes, and when we look at the economy, there are different aspects of the economy. I think overall, within the 12 months of assuming power, the president has done quite well. Many of the indicators confirm that the economy is heading in the right direction. We cannot take that away from him. We've seen economic discipline, we've seen fiscal discipline, we've seen prudent and largely judicious use of our fiscal resources, the expenditure cut, the commitment control, commitment authorization, the Minister of Finance has institutionalized. Then we've also seen strong policy coordination between the fiscal and then the monetary, and then of course supported strongly by external factors in terms of uptake in commodity prices. So from that perspective, I think that the president has checked the box largely. There you want to look at the quality of the performance, the quality of the economic turnaround. You want to see whether the turnaround is inclusive and whether the growth we have seen is also job-rich, whether the employment growth relationship has strengthened. I do not think so. If you look at the discussions in the run-up to 2024 general elections, unemployment was a big issue because even in 2024, growth was quite strong, higher than the projected under the IMF program. But the problem was that we were recording or celebrating jobless growth. Poverty was very high. More than 25% of Ghanaians, as at 2024, were successfully unemployed or were poor. Let me put it that way. Were in the extreme poverty bracket. Close to 13.5% of the youth, largely in the employment bracket were successfully unemployed, regardless of the program that they pursued in the tertiary institutions. Unemployment overall was more than 14%, right. And it was very high among females and all of that. And then the other bit also is that close to approximately 13.2% of the population were food insecure. So all these things overall, we've seen the economy in the right direction, but we are not seeing this translating to greater poverty reduction.
So that's the viewpoint of Professor Bokping on this. But the president himself has been speaking today as he marked his first year in office with a Thanksgiving service at the Jubilee House, and he committed to do even more to deliver fully on his mandate. Listen.
Yes, and
the work we have begun is far from finished. But today reminds us that progress is not measured only by numbers and by charts and diagrams. It is also measured by hope that is restored, by trust that is rebuilt, and correct direction that is regained. Thanksgiving must also be accompanied by recommitment. And so today, we recommit to ethical leadership, we commit ourselves to service above self, we recommit ourselves to governance anchored in integrity, competence, and compassion. We recommit ourselves to listening, especially to the voices of our vulnerable, our youth, and those who feel excluded. And we recommit ourselves to the unity of our nation, knowing that Ghana's strength has always come from our ability to rise above division and work together for the common good. My fellow countrymen and women, the year ahead will demand even more from us. It will test our resolve, our patience, and our discipline. But it will also offer us opportunities to deepen the reforms we have started, opportunities to accelerate our growth, and ensure that development and progress touches every part of our country. And so let us move forward with humility, let us lead with empathy, and let us govern with courage. And let us never forget that leadership is stewardship. It is temporary and fleeting. Authority is a fleeting trust held on behalf of the people.
President John Dramani Mahama there, but meanwhile at Abosokai, the stabilization of the city, reduced taxes, and a generally calmer economic environment. These are the reasons spare parts dealers are giving, for the Mahama-led administration a positive rating for after its first year in office. The traders, however, say more can be done and have outlined key areas they expect government to prioritize going forward. My colleague Adubi Asare was at Abosokai to engage with traders.
Fantastic. To me, semi-rating 1 year, actually.
I think the Mahama-led administration is working really hard. As a businessman, I can say for a fact that things are smoother now as compared to how things were in the era of previous administration. I'd give him an 85% rating. President John Mahama is really working hard. He should completely ignore naysayers and keep the economy afloat like he's doing. Change is good. I'm happy about the city's stability.
Express Highway.
We really need him to work on our roads and transport system for us. I want to see the 24-hour economy policy in full force so that I can hire more workers. My favorite minister right now is Atuforsen. He's doing very well. I also like Atuforsen. I like Sam George for the reduction in DSTV subscription prices.
So that's the report card of this government from the Abosokai enclave there. But tonight, a research by John News Research Desk has showed that John Mahama has delivered 80% of some of the key promises he made for his first year, especially for his first 120 days. In his first 120 days, only 53% of those promises had been delivered But Caleb Ziblim of our research desk joins me in studio with some details of what we know. Caleb, now beyond the numbers, there's also the political promise tracking. What does the data say about Mahama's 120-day contract after a year?
Okay, yes, Brace. So after the 120 days had elapsed, Johnny's research did some analysis on the promises and then the outcome. That was after the first 120 days of this government's administration. And after the analysis, we saw that he had completed 52%, so just a little bit above 50% of what he promised to do within the first 120 days. And then 7 of them were in progress at that time, and then 5 of them had not started. But then currently, after a year, we decided to go back to the 120-day social contract and check if, even though within the first 120 days he couldn't complete everything, whether that had been completed within 1 year. So after doing the analysis again, we've seen that he has now done 80% of the promises in the 120-day social contract.
Do we know which ones were completed?
Yeah, so there are about 25 promises in the contracts. We know that he has done about 20 of them.
Okay.
And just off the top of my head, we have the COVID levy, the e-levy scrapping, and then some other taxes that were going to be scrapped. Also,
and VAT rationalization.
The VAT rationalization, the investigation onto the 2020 election petitions, election violence, and then some other of them. So we have 20 of them that has been done. And then in progress, we have 2 of them, which are in the 2026 budget. And then also, we have 3 of them which have not started.
Okay.
So for the 3 of them, we have the promise to review taxes on imported vehicles for agriculture. That has not been implemented yet. Again, review Customs Acts to allow salvage vehicle imports. Again, that has not been completed as of now. And then finally, commence investigations to purge security agencies of militia and vigilante elements. Maybe that's going on behind the scenes, but publicly, the government has not given us any indication that they've started or they've completed this. Okay. So we have these 3 of them that the government so far has not done within the 120-day social contract.
But you've been looking at key economic indicators as well.
Yeah.
I mean, from the data you've reviewed, what stands out the most?
Okay, great. So I think the major one that stands out is the exchange rate.
Okay.
If you look at the history of the cedi since the cedi has been a cedi, we started tracking in 1994. The cedi has never ended the year stronger than it began. Has never ended the year stronger than it began. So if the cedi started the year trading at $1, say, to 1 cedi, by the end of the year, it would have weakened. So $1 will now get 2 cedis. That's just a hypothetical example. So since 1994, the cedi has never ended the year stronger than it started.
Okay.
But then in 2025, that trend has changed, and for the first time, the cedi appreciated against the dollar, and not just the dollar, but other major trading currencies: the pound, the euro, even the Canadian dollar. All the major trading currencies, the cedi performed better from the start of the year, and with the dollar, that was about 40%. And we know how the economy is. The economy is mainly import driven, and because it's an import driven economy, once your currency is performing very well, it means that majority of the economy feels it, starting from transport prices. If you look at the trend, and we did this yesterday, if you look at the trend for fuel prices since 2025, they've been a nosedive from a high of about almost 16 cedis for a liter of petrol and diesel. We're now less than 10 cedis. Sorry, less than 11 cedis. 10.99 for fuel for petrol, and less than above 11 cedis for diesel.
Even that depends on the station.
Depends on the station. Some stations are still within the 10 for both diesel and petrol, and this is the lowest we've seen since 2022 for the price of fuel. So when you're talking about the exchange rate factor, is significant.
Okay.
And if you also move on, the exchange rate factor has also translated into the reduced inflation rates.
Okay.
2024 ended with inflation around 23.5%. Currently, we are at 5.4%, and this is the lowest since 2002. This tells you how significant it is, and this is also one of the few times that the inflation rate is below the Bank of Ghana's target band.
Okay.
So Ghana has a target band of about 6% to 10% inflation rate. We are currently at 5.4% inflation rate.
Below.
So in the eyes of the Bank of Ghana, they will actually have to do some mechanisms to increase the inflation rate a bit to stay within their 6 to 10% inflation rate. So the major takeaway is the exchange rate factor and how that has come out within the entire economy.
But as other people, explain, the biggest challenge now lies in converting these gains into tangible benefit for the ordinary Ghanaian.
Exactly.
We'll delve more into this here on Top Story. This is Top Story brought to you by Telecel, Holy Insecticide Spray and Coil, and also by Shield Pension Trust. I've been joined on the line by Professor Esuming. He is an economist at the University of Ghana. Prof, I'm grateful to you for joining us here. Now, what's your own reading of President Mahama's first year in office in terms of the economy?
Good evening. Good evening to listeners. Thanks for having me. Overall, you have to say that the president's management of the economy in the first year has been very good. You start with the fact that the president has been very clear about what the strategy he wants to pursue, and he has pursued it. You look at where we ended 2024, where the macroeconomic indicators generally were not looking good. Especially on the fiscal side, as well as even the inflation targets and others. The first thing that you notice is that when the president's first budget was presented, the first thing is to make sure he delivered on a lot of the immediate promises that he could deliver, especially with regard to the taxes. But it signaled a clear change. The president and the finance minister decided that they are going to bring back the fiscal consolidation on track to ensure that this year, at least 2025, we bring back the stability. I think so. In terms of stabilizing the macroeconomic environment, you can't really debate with how much the president has done. I think on that score, they've done extremely well. In particular, even though we did consolidation, shifting the focus of the consolidation from too much revenue base, focusing on additional taxes, to rolling back some of the taxes and deciding to focus on government's own expenditure and reining in its expenditure. I think that was something that many Ghanaians had expected, especially in the wake of the debt exchange. Many Ghanaians had expected that, not just raising taxes, but also government putting its spending in order. So when the first budget sought to deliver, I think it was well received. So because of that, consumer sentiment and business sentiments have been soaring, and all of that has really helped with how the economy has performed. So if you look at our growth through the first 3 quarters, you notice that it has outperformed expectations, but a big chunk of that is driven by the private sector, especially when you disaggregate the growth by expenditure. You realize that private consumption has really pushed the growth, as well as business spending. So on that score, the president has done really well.
Okay.
One area that perhaps many Ghanaians haven't seen a lot of progress is implementation of the flagship programs and the initiatives of the government. But because it's the first year of the government, perhaps you can cut them some slack, because it takes some time to put your administration in together and to also start implementing your own program. So in terms of stabilizing the economy, the president has done extremely well. The president has also spoken about laying the foundation. I think when it comes to laying the foundation, there's still quite a lot of work to be done.
Okay.
But for a first year, stabilizing the macroeconomic environment, you have to say the government has done pretty well.
What do you make of the argument that these gains have not translated into the everyday lives of Ghanaians?
To some extent, that could be founded. That is a very legitimate concern. So, because at the same time that we've seen accelerated disinflation, at the same time that we've seen the currency strengthen, at the same time that we've seen growth outperform expectations, we have also seen economy not creating as many jobs, the recent job report from the Ghana Statistical Service bears that out. And it's clear that poverty is not falling as much as we would like it to. So that has something to do with how the economy is structured itself and when the economy is growing, which sectors are growing. Those are things that are legitimate, but we've had this for a while, and it will take some time to reform that aspect of the economy. And I think that is where you expect that the second year of the administration will focus more attention on ensuring that first, the stability has to be deepened and sustained. Then it gives a platform for the private sector to respond more positively and grow. But the government also has a role to play to ensure that growth translates into growing incomes and jobs as well as poverty reduction. So I think it's a legitimate concern for people to point out.
But once GDP is growing, mustn't that grow in tandem with some level of job creation?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It depends on which sectors are growing and the nature and the characteristics of the growth. So you notice that in the economy, some sectors are extremely labor intensive, some sectors are capital intensive. So if you see growth driven, for instance, by gold production, because we have not been deliberate in making sure that the extractive sector in general are strongly connected to other sectors of the economy, they still remain enclave sectors. What that means is that if gold is what is growing, the extractive sector is what is growing, then it's only people who are directly connected to mining of oil or minerals. Those are the ones that will benefit. So, but that is really relatively a smaller population. You also notice that the informal sector is the biggest employer, and but its contribution to output is low. So productivity in the informal sector is low. We talk about the services sector growing, but the services sector has many divisions.
Okay.
ICT, for instance, which has been growing very strongly. You notice that not many Ghanaians are connected. The ICT sector is primarily controlled by foreigners and also is relatively capital intensive. So all of those come into play when you are assessing the extent to which your growth will translate to
job creation.
Job creation and poverty reduction.
Do stay with me. Let me bring in Sanja Nanja. He is Vice Chairman, Land and Natural Resources Committee, an MP for Atebubu Amante. I'm grateful to you for joining us here.
We've allowed so many sectors to become enclave. So when some sector is going, it's not pulling along with other sectors. And I think that is something that we have to address. We can't take it for granted that the moment the economy is growing, it's going to create jobs or it's going to generate sufficient income for ordinary Ghanaians.
Okay. All right, I'm grateful.
Some of the most productive sectors of our economy are in the hands of foreigners.
Okay.
And when those sectors are growing, the proceeds are expatriated to other countries. They are sent to other countries. So these are issues that have to be addressed to ensure that every time the economy is growing, we are seeing ordinary Ghanaians are seeing the benefit.
I'm grateful to you. Stay with me. Let me bring in Dr. Stephen Amwa. He's ranking member of Finance Committee in Parliament and MP for Inshaya. So I also have Sanja Nanja, Vice Chairman, Lands and Natural Resources Committee, MP for Atebubu Amante. Let me start with you, Dr. Amwa. You've been at the Finance Ministry before. If you look at the 1 year of the John Mahama administration, you would agree that something positive is happening. Not so? Hello, Dr. Amwa, do I have you? Hello, Dr. Simramo, do I have you? Okay, looks like, let me try and see if I can get Sanja Nanja. Hello, Sanja Nanja, do I have you, sir?
Yes, please.
Great. Now, one of the major things that you talked about during your campaign was your
voice is very low.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, please.
Great. I'm trying to find out from you that one of the major campaign promises that you made was the 24-hour economy, 133. A lot of people were looking at that. Now, we all agree that the economy is doing well. But when will that translate into the 24-hour economy being realized just so it can create the jobs that people need?
All right. Thank you, my brother, for calling me into the show. I will say good evening to your cherished listeners. I think 1 year down the lane has been done, as you yourself have admitted. And the 24-hour economy is a major policy issue. And no government can use 1 year to achieve all that is in its manifesto. As I speak to you now, the 24-hour economy bill is before Parliament. And hopefully, the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee of the Parliament, which I am one of them, we are going to start perusing the bill as a committee that it has been referred to. And come Friday, we are going to meet and start perusing the bill. We'll go through it and report back to Parliament at the preliminary for consideration stage. And it will pass through all the stages of a bill. And I'm very sure the bill will soon be passed. Even before that, I know some other institutions, government institutions and private institutions, have started implementing the policy in some pieces. But the bill coming into force, and it will enforce what has already been started. And I know by next year by this time, the bill will be a law, and we'll see much of the 24-hour economy.
All right. Do stay with me. Let me bring in Dr. Stephen Amoah. He is ranking member on Finance Committee in Parliament. Doc, from where you sit and what you do know, how would you rate the 1 year of John Mahama's administration?
Hello? You are asking me?
No, I'm bringing in Dr. Stephen Amoah. Sir.
Hear you. You said, how do I rate?
I'm bringing in Dr. Stephen Amoah. Doc, if you can hear me. Do I have Dr. Stephen Amoah?
Yes, please.
I'm asking for your review of the 1 year of John Mahama's administration from where you sit in terms of the economy.
Thank you very much. I can't really hear you all, but
okay. I'm asking for your review of the economy in 1 year.
Oh, in 1 year. Thank you for the opportunity and my regards to our listeners this very evening. Honestly speaking, for 12 months now, I still stand by the statement I've been making right back from June last year. This is a new government, and honestly speaking, it will be extremely very difficult for any honest person to say that the government has done well or otherwise, except those who just want to do propaganda economy. The fact is that we need to look at the key performance indicators, the primary macro indicators. We need to also look at some of their flagship programs that they promise Ghanaians. We also need to look at even the formulation of their government structure. Now, if you come back to the primary macro indicators, honestly speaking, in terms of economic performance, the government hasn't done much, and it's not the government's fault. You remember that the world went so bad economically that at a point we're growing around 0.4, 0.5%, even when the world grew negative 3.3. But by last quarter, 2024, when we're leaving office, even we had provisional figures of about 6.3. Brother Dr. Atofos, in my regards to him, presented about 5.6%, you remember, even higher than 2016 when they left 0.4. Our primary balance has started recording a better figure. Even inflationary rate that went to 54.1 had come down to about 22 point. Some reserve had been much improved before they took over the government. And you realize that through no fault of theirs, any new economic policies, especially those that will require parliamentary approval, will take some time. I mean, i.e. 24-hour economy. The next thing is the big push and call. We cannot record any component of that and express that as a percentage of our current GDP growth. So I don't think it would be right for anybody to say that this government is doing well economically, honestly. But also not be right for anybody to say that this government is not doing well at all. If we really want to be very realistic, I'm sure this is the year that we are going to look at critically what this government is doing, its contribution to the growth of our economy, and the changes and the successes and the utilities and satisfaction enjoying today as a result of where the economy was last quarter, 2024 when they took over. So I don't think that personally I can place this government in any appraiser position to say that they've done well or they've not done well. That's my personal opinion.
But when GDP has grown, by 6.1%, when inflation is now 5.4%, when exchange rate stable around between 10 and 11, are we saying that something right is not happening? They've rationalized VAT as well.
Thank you very much. Maybe you got me right, and your question is also appropriate. But let us understand the fact that when it comes to economic growth, you remember, as I said, the economy went so bad, we had to do recovery and restoration of the economy, which to me was done. To feel the impact and what we are enjoying now, we had already started reducing inflation rate from 54.1 to 22 point something, and it's taking that downward trend up to what we are getting now. That is how all developing a country economically is a process. It's not event.
Okay.
So what we are enjoying today, especially when we are actually operating what I describe as a defensive economy. When we say defensive economy, we call something systematic risk index. Generally, our market operations and the businesses and the enterprises and the companies are having averagely far less than 1. What it means is that defensive sector means that we're having a lot of SMEs comprising about 90%. And once you have such economy, normally it takes a long time for economic figures and recovery and restoration to practically be felt by the people. So it is true we are having these things now. It is as a result of where we got to. Let me tell you something. By December, we had about $500 to $600 million in our account. Bank of Ghana should come and say I'm lying. By January, we had about $1 billion because of the domestication of the so-called cocoa syndication, which in my opinion had been done for the first time. I stand to be corrected. We had come out of a very successful, relatively peaceful election, which has really restored confidence of investors. Okay. 3, the primary macro indicators that were, we call something independent variables, taking the whole economy as dependent variables, they have started doing so much well. Okay. So investors have started getting confidence in our economy, and it affected our currency in a way. The same time, America had gotten Paris war with the giant, partners or whatever, like the Asian countries. So all these contributed to the economic restoration and the economic growth, and then the areas that were taking downward or upper trend in terms of what we were expecting we're doing. Okay. And we are still enjoying that trajectory.
All right.
So what I'm saying is that, yes, we are having all these coming down. They are already coming down already. Okay. We all know. And I'm not saying the government hasn't done well. I can't say that. And I can't say the government has done bad. We are yet to see practically what the government exclusively will contribute to the growing and the stability and sustainability of our economy, especially this year. You see how the discretionary spending policy options of this government will be, how they will stick to their promises, how they are going to control cost or expenditure, and the options that they will take for us to be sure that, yes, they are really, really on the right path. But for now, it's still, in my opinion, an embryonic stage for us to judge this government. That's my opinion anyway.
I'm grateful, but Sanjay Nanja, just about 30 seconds. What's your response to Dr. Stephen Amwa? He says too early for us to judge.
Yeah. Yes, you see that Stephen Amwa is not able to, actually he's tried to play the middle stream rule. That's all. You can't say the government has done well. You can't say he hasn't done well. And the reality is that government has done well. If for nothing at all, hardship has been reduced. For nothing at all, the city has been very strong against other foreign currencies. These two majorities, it is by the genuity of and the management of the managers of the economy has brought this. You can't take away this from us. For nothing at all, inflation. Today, inflation is 5.something%. So what? So I think the best Mr. Mahama can do is what he has done.
Okay, I'm
not
grateful.
to say the government has done well.
Hello.
And not to say hello.
I'm grateful, gentlemen. Because of time, we'll have to leave it here. I'm grateful to you, Dr. Stephen Amwa, ranking member of Finance Committee in Parliament, MP for Nshire. So Sanja Nanja is MP for Tebu Manting and Vice Chair, Land and Natural Resources Committee. Up next is Newsnight. What's coming up?
And coming up on Newsnight tonight, Minority in Parliament slams President Mahama's environmental record, calling its Galamsey fight abysmal.
No water for the citizens in Aboso, in Tampa, Tristia, Wasa, Bogoso. We don't have water for them because our water bodies have been destroyed by illegal mining activity.
And President Mahama's first year in office sees oral anti-corruption drive under scrutiny as health sector performance also comes under review.
No water for the citizens in Aboso.
When you're going to fight corruption, you should fight it from the top. So you should take the high-profile cases. Yes, you should pick the big ones, the prominent ones, and move with speed because people are losing hope.
Also, Asantehene Otunfo Sage II calls for independence of Bank of Ghana from political interference, warning that the recent economic gains can only be sustained if the central bank is allowed to operate professionally and without pressure.
When you're going to fight corruption,
it is our lives we have played. It is our lives we have placed in their hands. If they fail, we risk collapse. If they succeed, we walk in wealth and glory.
We have details from his historic visit as the Bank of Ghana governor vows to keep lending rate at 10% by the end of his tenure. Coming up in business.
We will also hear from the Asantini who is talking about the fact that we shouldn't be carried away by the current economic gains, saying more work needed to be done.
And in sports,
well, we'll also hear from the local organizing committee for the African Athletics Senior Championship, who are assuring the country of an excellent tournament.
And a bit later, Ghana drops 2 places to 6th in Africa on English proficiency behind Zimbabwe and Zambia for the first time. We'll tell you how this impacts the country. Details of these and many other stories coming up in the next 60 minutes. My name is Kenneth. Gyasi, feel free to be a part of this show by sending us a WhatsApp on 055 11 11 997. Details after this.
Auntie T, abeg, fix me gobetete Ghana. No gari, no oil, no plantain, just beans then eggs.
Hey, brah, that be dangerous combination, no.
Problem no day. I feel handle am.
For Telecel, we the Bob say everybody gets what they like. That be why Made For Me bundles day. Based on your usage, you fit get your own data and call packages. Fala! Made For Me bundles like the way you want them. That *530# then buy Made For Me bundles today.
Telecel. Connecting energies.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kindle Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first port of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Takweje, Osu near the Osu Cemetery, Tema near Community 4, Takoradi opposite Vijay Mays Plaza, Cape Coast, University Book Bookshop, Spintex Road near Absa Bank, Atomic Centerpoint Mall, Winneba University Campus, KNUST, the University Bookshop, and Santasi in Kumasi. You can also visit our shop online, www.kingdomstoreonline.com. Hurry while stock lasts. For further inquiries, contact us on 050-162-0810 or 0302-764-101. Email info@kingdomgh.com. Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited, where quality and affordability is assured. Terms and conditions apply.
No matter where we are, Africa always calls us home. And here in Ghana, the call is clear: to power growth and create lasting impact. At Stanbic Corporate and Investment Banking, we are creating giants and connecting businesses. From financing bold energy projects to enabling cleaner, reliable power for industries, we are fueling Ghana's transformation. With our support, Gensa Energy is delivering sustainable energy that powers Goldfields operations, helping them move closer to cleaner, greener mining. This is a story of how we bring businesses together, create jobs, empower communities, and invest in the next generation. Stanbic Bank, delivering sustainable growth, creating impact. To learn more, visit stanbicbank.com.gh.
Many thanks for your time this evening. And tonight, the Minority on Parliament's Environment Committee says the Mahama administration has performed abysmally in its fight against illegal mining. Despite efforts to clamp down on the menace, illegal mining remains one of the country's most pressing environmental challenge, contributing to the pollution of major rivers, the destruction of farmlands, and the loss of forest cover. Rating President Mahama's performance, Vice President of the committee, John Dako, said the devastation caused by illegal mining is worsening in many communities across the country.
I think that it's been abysmal, to say the least. The president has chosen his poison when it comes to us as a people of Ghana. He decided that he would rather there is praise for him for stabilization of the city than the protection of water body. The president and his team, the government right now, has become the major dictator of Galamsey. The president should be ready to take the blame for neglecting the very downtrodden people he claimed to support. The president should take blame for the destruction of our water bodies. If you go to a place like Nzima, on the way to Maha Beach, where the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources generally hails from, is getting worse. Ghana Gas's right of way is being destroyed by illegal mining activities. Our water bodies right now, go to Takwa, there's no water in the Takwa Township. No water is flowing through the taps in Takwa Township because of Galamsey. The forest is completely destroyed. No water for the citizens in Aboso, in Takwa, Trisia, Wasa, Bogoso. We don't have water for them because our water bodies have been destroyed by illegal mining activities. We have a lot of birth defects in our community.
Rate the performance of this administration.
This is what the president is doing to the people of Ghana.
Rate the performance of this administration when it comes to the fight against illegal mining. If 10 is the highest and 1 the lowest.
I'll give them 0 because, look, we are not asking for the establishment of these institutions. We are asking for action.
That's the Vice Chairman of the Environment Committee, John Dako. And meanwhile, convener of the Media Coalition Against Galamsey, Kenneth, says though the Mahama administration has shown willingness to fight illegal mining, more needs to be done to win the war.
And then you would look at the issues around heavy metals. Arsenic is showing very high. Again, it's only a pum-pum, that is showing arsenic levels that are below the 0.1 milligram per liter level. Mercury, the same thing. Lead, the same thing. Cadmium, the same thing.
So we're not out of the woods yet, are we?
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So we really are not out of the woods. And there's a lot of, and currently there's one brand new risk that has come. What is happening is that these illegal miners are bringing people from Burkina Faso to come and do cyanide leaching, and they call something they call in situ leaching, where in the pits, they pour the cyanide in there. But the large-scale miners would use cyanide under the regulation of the Minerals Commission and the EPA. And these, when they do them, they line the bottom of this and the sides of it so that the cyanide does not leach into any of our water bodies. Unfortunately, somewhere in the Ashanti region, it had to take the intervention of the EPA to ensure that a borehole which was closed by that place that had high levels of cyanide in it, they were able to prevent the community from drinking. What that would have done is that it would have wiped out that community. So the risks are also in there. So those are challenges that we have.
What would you like to see in the second administration of this government when it comes to addressing the fight against, second year, the fight against galamsey?
What do we want to see? So what we want to see is the issues around NIMOS. We need to provide NIMOS with the resources that are required to ensure that they can form permanent bases in some of these hotspots. As we do the same thing, we should do a similar thing for the Forestry Commission. Let's turn the Forestry Commission guards into proper paramilitary teams, arming them, providing them with superior firepower than what most of these environmental criminals, have.
That's Ken Ashigbe there. He's the convener of the Media Coalition Against Galamsey. And with today being the first year since John Dramani Mahama returned to office, let's do more analysis on the president's stewardship the last 1 year. And joining me on the telephone lines is the executive director of the Peasant Farmers Association, Bismarck Note. I also have on the phone lines the chairman for the Greater Accra region of the Association of Ghana Industries, Chonam Akpelu. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time this evening. Let me begin with you, Bismarck. How would you rate the president's performance when it comes to impacting members of your association, the Peasant Farmers Association? Has it done enough in the last 1 year?
Yeah. Hello. Good evening and happy New Year to you and your listeners. I think that generally we must say that the first year of the president's administration, when it comes to the sector and then even their work for farmers, I think it has been generally okay. I think that there were some quite significant highs that we can attest to, and there were some major lows too that we are hoping that in the coming years we should see some drastic work on them. For instance, if you look at issues of policy framework, last year witnessed the launch of their major agricultural transformation framework, that's the Feed Ghana program. We witnessed some level of input support for farmers. We've seen some work being done on some irrigation facilities across the country. We've seen a couple of construction work being done, which I think is fine. If you also recall that last year we have quite some high levels of yields when it comes to both grains and vegetables, where across the country there were several farmers who reported high yields. But we know the major problem that we had last year has to do with markets, and the fact that we were not able to put in place a proper system to ensure that we reduce post-harvest losses and reduce the investment loss for farmers. I think for me, that has been one of the major challenges that we didn't address very well last year. And I hope that going forward, we should be able to put a lot of work on that to reduce losses that farmers incur due to post-harvest losses.
Bismarck, don't go yet. Let me now bring in Chonam Akpelu, who is the Greater Accra Regional Chairman of the Association of Ghana Industries. Chonam, same for you. Are you impressed with President John Dramani Mahama's performance in the last 1 year?
Good evening to your cherished listeners. Yes, so overall it's been fairly okay. I mean, in comparative terms, there have been some major breakthroughs. I would like to begin with inflation, because inflation has been one of our biggest pinpoints in the industry. It's been fairly okay. I think by November it was about 6.3%. That's really great. Vis-a-vis the target of about 8%. So the government seems to have done quite well in that regard. There have been several policy actions that we've as that they are taken off, and most of them have been dealt with. The e-levy is one of the ones that I'll mention easily, and then the recalibration of taxes and of VAT and how it is calculated and so on. My understanding is that by the beginning of this year, it will kick in. About 1.5% of withholding tax on processing of gold has been removed, and so on. And so clearly, some of these things that we've done major advocacy for has been taken care of. So it's been fairly okay. If you take the policy rate, for example, it has gone down significantly, except that we would like to see that a lot of more loanable funds are made available for industry. So those are the things that we'll be pushing for this year. It's one thing having lower policy rates and also effectively lower interest rates. It's another thing having our businesses to be able to access some of these monies to expand their business. Another major thing that is of concern is about much talk about 24-hour economy, which is what is of interest to us in industry. Yes, so we've seen the policy. We've had several engagements with the Secretariat. It looks good so far, but we're still waiting to see the legal framework that back all of this, because we want to be sure that it's not just talk, it's grounded in law, and so we are waiting to see. But also the modalities of assessing the benefits under the 24-hour economy. And so this year we'll really be looking forward to expecting those answers from the government. But overall, it's been fairly okay.
Chonam, you've mentioned the things that you say have been okay in this first year of President John Dramani Mahama. But consumers, people who buy goods and services from you, are saying the prices are still high. They are not coming down. Why?
Yes, of course, it's a mix of reasons, because for us, we still have to source our raw materials from abroad and then process for most of our production processes. So what I can confirm is that prices have been fairly stable, but reduction of pricing for most goods is what the challenge has been. A lot of businesses are normally not comfortable reducing price, but I'm also fully aware that some of our members reduce prices significantly. I mean, I know the folks in the cement space, they've reduced the price of cement and other products as well. You see, what we want to see is how stable the prices have been over the years, because then stability allows us to plan, really. So we are more big on stability than the movements of the pricing. And so if it's fairly stable, we will be okay with that. Like the exchange rates, for example, the city has been highly appreciative over the years, over the year under review. Our view is that we want it to be very stable. Look, we want to go to the markets knowing that a CD to $1 is 10. So that way, it allows us to plan for the larger part of time, as opposed to the movements around the currency.
Right. Chonam, thank you very much. I still have Bismarck with me. Bismarck, the year ahead, what are Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana looking forward to achieving from the president?
Yeah, thank you. I think that, as I mentioned, one significant issue that this year was the market access. And I know government has started some work. Even when we heard in the budget statement regarding the directive for president for not to purchase the produce from local farmers, I think that we need to have a proper framework to ensure that directive is adhered to the latter. That particular directive also applies to grains. However, we also know that farmers are into the production of other crops like tomatoes, like cassava, and they also suffer from post-harvest losses. So I hope that we use this year to have a very comprehensive plan on how to address post-harvest losses across all the value chains in the country. That's an area that farmers will be interested in. I think that generally, even though prices have been quite stable, we wish to see some reduction in the prices of inputs for farmers. I think the conversation has all been about the the amendments of the Tax Exemptions Act to ensure that these tax exemptions are applied to these inputs. We hope to see that actualized in this year, and also the plans to ensure that we have our own manufacturing companies that are producing this input locally. Lastly, the issue of irrigation is very critical to us. Unfortunately, the whole of last year, we didn't hear much about the Palugu Dam. We know there are some works ongoing at various irrigation sites, but we know there's a huge plan to develop irrigation sites in 8 regions in the country. So we hope that for this year, government should do a lot of more action, provide infrastructure for us. The mechanization centers are something that we look forward to. And especially, we don't want to have a situation where we experienced last year, where we have to lose a lot of investment due to the market trend. We are really hopeful that this year should happen. And also, there are still a lot of farmers who will still have their produce locked up with no buyers. And I hope that the institutions will work up and ensure that this is also taken off from the farming.
All right, thank you very much. Bismarck Noto is the Executive Director of the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana. And earlier, we heard from the Greater Accra Regional Chairman of the Association of Ghana Industries, Chonam Akpelu. Let's take you to the Ashanti Regional Capital of Kumasi, where residents are offering mixed but largely positive assessments of President Mahama's administration's performance. A year on, many residents in Kumasi are rating his performance as high as 90%, citing early signs of economic relief and visible government action. Listen.
Whilst they describe the first-year administration's performance as stellar, the mixed reactions still weigh on whether the early months' improvements are temporary or not. They indicated that they will be watching closely to see how the next 3 years unfold.
Mama buy was it normal so petrol what gas so even though safer ni dollar kwa what so.
Mahama's governance has been phenomenal. There has been drastic reduction in goods and services. The exchange rate is all-time stable. Now importers are relieved. It's a lie to say he hasn't performed well. He should continue this speed to be grateful sometime.
Percentage bia mama no 90% because
I did not vote for Mahama, but I have to appreciate how he has performed in the last year. However, the assessment came with some opposition sympathizers who rated the president's performance at just 2%, citing concerns of alleged abuse of power and false reduction of goods and services.
Oh, but mama na bro so too. Onya hwe. Kom adum chedua ya na offense adum no akwachi ni. Anton kwachi o ma adum cha adum no wa. Oya odai.
I will give him 2% for abysmal performance. All the abuses and unlawful arrests. We are not seeing what he promised. The hikes in goods and services were man-made. The reduction cannot be accrued to him. For Joy News, my name is Clinton Yeboah.
Clinton Yeboah's report from the Ashanti region now. And let's bring you more stories on President John Dramani Mahama's first year in office. And as he marks 1 year in office, his administration's handling of corruption and the health sector is also coming under renewed public and expert scrutiny, with calls for stronger delivery on key campaign promises. On the anti-corruption front, a member of the Operation Recover All Loot Oral team and former Auditor General Daniel Domolevo has warned that public confidence in the government's flagship recovery program is beginning to wane. Well, the NDC had pledged ahead of the 2024 elections to recover all stolen public funds and state properties, but nearly a year into office, fewer than 5 corruption cases have reportedly reached prosecution. Mr. Domolevo urged the Attorney General to take urgent steps to restore hope in the oral agenda, stressing that delays in prosecutions risk undermining government's credibility.
When you're going to fight corruption, you should fight it from the top. So you should take the high-profile cases, because in public financial management...
So what do you expect from the AG this year?
Yes, you should pick the big ones, the prominent ones, and move with speed, because people are losing hope, people are losing confidence, people think it's going to be business as usual, nothing is going to happen. So if it is possible, you should come out with different teams.
That's the former Auditor General Daniel Domlevu there. Let's go on to the telephone lines right now and speak to Edem Senanu, who is an anti-corruption campaigner. Edem, grateful for your time this evening. You've been listening to the former Auditor General. Is he making thoughts that you agree with?
Well, yes. Definitely, given the level at which they pitch oral, you recognize that citizens have been eager to see what is happening in respect of prosecution and recovery of any assets that have been stolen. Except to say that I have always argued that due process should be followed so we don't impinge on persons' rights as we get these things done. But he's quite right. If we can deploy other strategies to speed up the investigation, prosecution, legitimate ones that don't take away from the rights of individuals, that would be the way to go.
And how would you rate the president's fight against corruption 1 year on?
I think I'll call it above average. I was taking a look at the manifesto objectives they set out. Under good governance, they had about 11, including cutting down the size of government to 60, which they've done, realigning and merging some ministries, which they've done. There was the establishment of the Constitutional Review Committee, which they've done. There were at least 4 out of the 11 under good governance, which they have attacked, and then also 6 out of 15 under the anti-corruption. What stands out for me is the appointment of a special advisor on anti-corruption, the engagement with the judiciary over the special court. I thought that was important. And then the president stood up and was clear about not scrapping the office of a special prosecutor, even when, the parliamentarians were calling for it, which shows leadership. And I think that I'll give an above average. I hope that they will get into much more traction this year in respect of all the outstanding things that must be done.
Of course, this is the first year of the president. Comparing this to just 1 year in the fight against corruption with successive governments, do you think this one has done enough?
I wouldn't say it has done enough, but I would say the level of commitment and the institutional framework they've put in gives us a lot more hope. Because you see, we've never had an office set up to specially advise the president on anti-corruption. That office has led us to work on the national ethics and anti-corruption strategy for the next 5 years, which probably will be rolled out this or next month. A number of significant things that make us see that there's some seriousness. The question is whether they'll keep to the trajectory and deliver on what they set out to do, especially within the action plan.
Right. Thank you very much. Edem Senanu is an anti-corruption crusader there. And that brings us to business. And George Riafe is here with the latest. George, what have you got for us?
Well, coming up in business, Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Johnson Isiama reveals country's international reserve reached over $13.8 billion, representing 6 months of import cover. We'll also hear from the Santahini, who is urging managers of the economy not to be carried away by current economic stability, insisting there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all your office essentials, Synthesis tanks, and Pepsodent, Herbal, and Charcoal.
Je m'appelle.
Je m'appelle.
Je m'appelle.
Mappé. Et Mappé.
Hey,
French idiot. This is a midi croissant.
Meet Aja. She makes sobolo in a small shop in Kaswa. She's going places with MTN Ejumapa. Now, she's learning French kakra to teach her francophone customers indigenous recipes.
私の名前は
Watashi no na my boy.
Whoa, she's learning Japanese too? Watash. What? Echa sobolo to the whole Gyasi. If you're a woman with a small business, join MTN Ejumapa today by dialing *5060# and enjoy 150 megabytes data, a lifestyle bundle for social media, free MTN to MTN calls every Monday, and an insurance cover. You will also gain access to expert training, discounts on digital tools, and financial support to grow the business of your dreams. Terms and conditions apply. MTN.
Fidelity Bank say save and win. Muntio. Sika boom. Just deposit and begin. Every 500 CDs you keep for a month, you get 1 point all at once. More deposits, gets more points in. More points, more cash you feel win. How many points? 1 point every 500 CDs. What if you win? 5,000 CDs monthly. And the grand prize? Hey! 100,000 Ghana CDs.
Don't wait. Visit any Fidelity branch or agent nationwide to deposit in multiples of 500 CDs. The more you deposit, the better your chances to win 5,000 CDs monthly and 100,000 CDs in the grand draw. Terms and conditions apply. Win with us. Fidelity Bank, believe with us.
Sika boom.
This is an NLA approved promo, now running on the Caritas Lottery platform.
At Star Oil, we believe fuel is not just a commodity, it is a lifeline. Every cedi saved at the pump is a cedi that helps a mother send her child to school, a farmer transports food to the market, or a young entrepreneur deliver their first order. Our mission is to make fuel more accessible by offering consistently competitive prices, helping ease the financial burden on Ghanaian households. In a country where transportation costs can consume nearly a third of household income, this is not just business. It's a social responsibility. Star Oil, still quality and affordable fuels for all.
For many years, we've been solving Ghana's water storage problems with quality tanks. Syntex tank. You know, it is strong, it's tough, and reliable. And now, we're in to solve the #1 problem when it comes to water carriage: our pipes. With the state-of-the-art machinery, Syntex is providing very strong, tough, reliable, high quality, and durable pipes at a reasonable price. This is Syntex Pipes. With Syntex Pipes, water flows wow. I mean, ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. If they carry water, no wahala. With Syntex Pipe, our water problems are solved. Syntex, are you strong? Are you tough?
Brushing gets more fun with your kids with the new Pepsodent Kids toothpaste. Give your smiles protection that lasts. Grab yours today from a store near you. This advert is FDA approved.
You welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Johnson Isiama has revealed that the country's international reserves has reached over $13.8 billion. The Bank of Ghana Governor disclosed this when the Asantehene paid an official visit to the bank today. He noted the development can be described as record.
Nana, I joined the bank since 1995, and I've never seen such figures since then. So this is historic. And in terms of imports cover, we normally use the imports cover to also express the international reserves level. We are looking at close to 6 months of imports cover. It's never happened in the history of the bank. Our trade performance has improved and confidence in macroeconomic management has strengthened.
Meanwhile, the Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Johnson Isiama has maintained that the current economic numbers must translate into improving livelihood.
Ghana's recovery, as we've seen so far, must now move beyond better statistics to better livelihoods for Ghanaians. It must translate into jobs for the industry, affordable for enterprises, and that does not reignite inflation, and a financial system that supports enterprise and long-term investment. Ghana is fully committed to playing its role firmly, independently, and professionally, so that the gains we are beginning to see will become durable and inclusive.
And that is the Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Johnson Isiama. Let's still stay on the visit because the Asantehene Otumfuo said to is urging managers of the economy not to be carried away by the current economic stability, insisting that a lot more still needs to be done.
Over the past year, after a difficult period, we have begun to breathe easy as the cedi stabilizes on the foreign exchange market. Sure. We recognize these are only the early stools of progress, and one will do well to be careful not to start feasting, as the governor said, before the true state of the harvest is known. Sure. Nonetheless, we think it is appropriate to acknowledge the discernible shift in direction and to encourage you to take any measure that will keep us on the right trajectory. So I'm here to encourage you. Sure. We have come not to preach to the experts, because you are the experts.
Asantehene Otumfuo said to. Now, government ended 2025 beating its inflation rate target by some significant margin. Data released by the Ghana Statistical Service put the December inflation rate at 5.4%. We have details in this report.
Government in the 2025 budget was looking at ending the year with an inflation rate of 11.9%. At the time, based on the current environment, it was even argued that the target was too high and the government might not achieve it. However, 11 months down the line, it has even outperformed these targets. The December inflation showed that the government beat that target by more than 6%. Thus, development could send signals to investors and donor partners that the targets set out for 2026 are achievable. Meanwhile, data released by the Ghana Statistical Service today also showed declining food prices played a major role in inflation dropping to 5.4%. According to the Ghana Statistical Service, this is the 12th consecutive decline in inflation and the lowest since inflation rebasing in 2022. So, what are some of the items that contributed to inflation reaching this level of 5.4%? According to the Ghana Statistical Service, charcoal and plantain together made a significant contribution to the December inflation. The cedi's appreciation last year also played a significant role in the drop to this new level.
And that is a business desk report. So what needs to be done to sustain this single digit this year? Well, that's the question we posed to government statistician Dr. Hassan Idrisu.
He asks whether inflation can be kept at 5.4% or even better. The question is, why not? With God, everything is what? Possible. If we stay physically disciplined, if we do what we need to do, we continue to manage the economy prudently, if we exchange rate management yields into currency stability, as we saw in 2025, if we do not record adverse global shocks to some of the variables that affect inflation, if we implement the key real sector interventions in the budget, including agri-related interventions, financial sector-related interventions, industry-related interventions, the 24-hour economy program, and many other special initiatives that have been introduced in the budget, and we implement them religiously,
And that is government statistician Dr. Alhassan Idrisu. And that's all for business on Newsnight. Back to you, Kenneth.
Well, thank you very much, George. It's now time for sports, and Musbao is here with the latest. Musbao, take us away.
Yes, well, Ken, there is a major event that's set to happen later this year. It is the 2026 African Athletics Seniors Championship, and that will be hosted here in Ghana. And the local organizing committee for that has assured government and the people of this country of the commitment to ensure the country organizes the best ever track and field event in the continent. The committee was inaugurated by the sports minister earlier this last month, and addressing the while reacting to the inauguration, the president of Ghana Athletics, Bawa Husseini, promised that him and the rest of the members of the committee will do their very best to ensure that the event will be hosted from May 12th to the 17th will come off smoothly.
We are so grateful for this inauguration today. We have been looking forward for it for a while, and today has marked the beginning of the work for the LOC. And on behalf of the LOC and on behalf of the chairman, Mr. Farhan Al-Hassan, we would like to sincerely thank Honorable Minister and the Ministry for this support. And we are going to do diligent work to deliver one of the best African championships in the history of Africa. Honorable Minister, we guarantee you that we are not going to disgrace you.
That's Bawa Husseini, Ghana Athletics President. He is a member of the local organizing committee. So, Ken, that's a big deal for Ghana.
Right.
The African Senior Championship. Of course, you're going to see 100-meter races. You're going to see 400-meter races, 800-meter races. Remember the last time Ghana organized the, what do you call it?
African Games.
Yeah, the African Games was really, really great. The excitement was lovely. And we're going to experience something close to that at the University of Ghana.
Hopefully.
And, you do enjoy track and field, don't you?
I do.
The high jump. There's a lot of excitement to that. So we're looking forward to that. But the Black Queens, of course, the Black Stars didn't make it to the AFCON, but the Black Queens did qualify for the Women's AFCON. And tomorrow, next Thursday, 15th of January, they will finally know the group that they will be in, the teams that they will be facing in the group stage. There are 16 teams that will be participating in the tournament, and the Black Queens are part of it. And come the 15th of January next week, Thursday, we'll get to know the group stage and the teams that the Black Queens will be facing. So hopefully they will make us proud in that tournament.
We certainly wish them all the best. But I've been seeing that Manchester United and Chelsea, have been competing on and off the field. Both of them sacked their coaches, hired new ones. Well, Manchester United not yet. What sort of rivalry is that, though?
It's a case of both clubs failing to ensure some stability when it comes to the coaching area, right? Yeah, that's something that they have struggled with now in the last few years. United themselves, they're moving from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to Erik ten Hag, from Erik ten Hag to Ruben Amorim, and the fans simply cannot understand why they enjoyed a stable coaching under, say, Alex Ferguson for how many years, and all of a sudden, since Ferguson left in 2013, I believe, they've appointed 10 managers, and they're looking to appoint the 11th manager, and that's unbelievable for Manchester United, And it's been a very difficult situation. That's including the caretaker managers and the interim managers and all of that. So it's been a very difficult time. But at the moment, they have an interim manager who is Darren Fletcher. He's taking a game they have today against Burnley. He's handling that game. That game will happen tonight. Then they are looking for a manager who will handle the club for the rest of the season. So they are looking at Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to bring him back.
Oh, dear.
They're looking at Michael Carrick. They're also looking at Darren Fletcher. They're looking at Ruud van Nistelrooy, apparently. So they just need somebody for the remainder of the season. Then they can focus on a substantive coach. So that's what they're looking at. For Chelsea, they have a new coach.
Right.
It's called Liam Resenoir. He's a British-born Sierra Leonean. And he's the second black coach Chelsea has ever appointed. And I think we're excited about that.
Are we?
And, Chelsea fans are not happy. Fair. They're not happy. But guess what happened?
Tell me.
He arrived in England some few years ago, and apparently he's been
over driving or over speeding or something.
He's been arrested for over speeding. He's been given a ticket. It's like, You just
Oh, my
arrived.
goodness.
Relax. What is this excitement about? You know.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he's been arrested for overspeed, and of course you get some ticket, and then you have to calm down. I'm sure he's excited. I'm sure he was blaring some Shatawale music, and
I believe so. All right, Ms. Bar, thank you very much for bringing us the latest in sports. Let's bring you other stories this evening because Asante Hine Otunfo Osei-Tutu II is charging political actors to give the governor of the Bank of Ghana and his team the independence, space and support needed to carry out their professional mandate without interference. Speaking during his first ever official visit to the Bank of Ghana since ascending the Golden Stool, he cautioned that the success or failure of the central bank has direct consequences for the lives and livelihoods of citizens and should be handled as such.
This is a unique institution with a mandate that ultimately affects every citizen of the land. Ideally, this citadel should be a fortress, insulated from the strings and arrows of political warfare. Whatever it is, we should think twice before we do anything which has the capacity to cast a stain on the integrity of the bank. Sure. I will appeal to the nation, to both sides of the political divide, to give the governor, my son, and his team a chance. Give them the respect and the space to perform their professional duties. Support them along the right path and offer counsel as necessary for the good of the bank. Sure. This is our bank. We have entrusted to them. It is our lives we have placed in their hands. If they fail, we risk collapse. Sure. If they succeed, we walk in wealth and glory.
Meanwhile, the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Johnson Esiama, says lending rates will not exceed 10% during his 4-year tenure as the central bank focuses on sustaining macroeconomic stability. According to Mr. Esiama, improved trade performance and renewed confidence in macroeconomic management have strengthened the economy, contributing to the recent stability of the city.
I hope the unavoidable attention being paid to the city does not mean we are relegating the second mandate of the bank, which has to do with interest rates, to the back burner. I noticed that interest rates too have begun coming down, but from past experience, we are going to find ways of accelerating the pace. Let me be as blunt as I can. No amount of investment by government on its own can scratch the surface of what we need to give ourselves a sound economy. Nor can we expect in this era of international discord to rely on foreign investments of any significance. This moment calls for a massive push to stimulate domestic private investment in industry. That cannot happen with interest at their current cutthroat rate and level. The challenge I leave with your creative brains is to fashion how you move the economy from the crippling high interest regime to the level where it becomes a stimulant of business and wealth creation. The second issue I wish to touch on it is the bank of the public in the public sphere. This is a unique institution with a mandate that ultimately affects every citizen of the land.
That again was Otunfo Osei-Tutu II challenging Ghana's economic managers to chart a clear path from what he describes as crippling high interest rates to levels that actively support business growth and wealth creation. We can now listen to the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Johnson Esiama, who says lending rates will not exceed 10% during his 4-year tenure.
My 4-year tenure, that lending rates will not be more than 10% in this country. Nana, on the external front, buffers have also been rebuilt. Our gross international reserves, which is the variable we use to assess our resilience as a country. Our international reserves have risen to above $13.8 billion, and this is historic. Nana, I joined the bank since 1995. And I've never seen such figures since then. So this is historic. And in terms of imports cover, we normally use the imports cover to also express the international reserves level. We are looking at close to 6 months of imports cover. It's never happened in the history of the bank.
Johnson Esiama is the governor of the Bank of Ghana. Away from the central bank, the National Commission for Civic Education is appealing to the government to actively and promptly fulfill its responsibilities to make the constitutional review process successful. Well, you will recall that a few weeks ago, the Constitution Review Committee presented its report to President John Mahama. The president, upon receiving the report, announced that he would establish an implementation committee early this year, and some members of the Constitution Review Committee will be invited to serve on the implementation committee to bring institutional memory. Listen to Chairman of the Constitution Review Committee, Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh, explaining what went into the committee's work.
We have actually accumulated a number of different experiences. As of 2011, when the big report was done, we had never had even an election petition before.
Yes.
Shortly thereafter, we were to have the first one, and then we've had a second one. Those are experiences that shape our understanding of how certain parts of the Constitution are working. When the federal report was put together, we had not experienced the death of a president in the office. We've experienced that, and how a vice president is chosen to succeed. So we then look at that provision as working. We have not experienced a hung parliament. We have since experienced it. So we've gone through certain experiences that inevitably will shape your understanding of certain provisions and also how they're working or not working.
That's Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh there. Now, Ghana has slipped 2 places to 6th position in Africa on the 2025 English Proficiency Index. That is according to the latest ranking by Education First. Well, the report classifies the country as moderately proficient in English behind countries like South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, and Zimbabwe. Well, globally, Ghana placed 36th out of the 123 countries and regions assessed in the index. And my colleague Gemma Apia is joining me in studio with more. Gemma, what has been Ghana's performance over the years?
So, Ken, Ghana was first added to the English Proficiency Index in 2021, and we have consistently ranked 4th in Africa until 2025. The data shows that while Ghana's global position improved from 41 in 2024 to 36 in 2025, its relative performance within Africa weakened to 6th as other countries posted stronger gains. Also, the report indicates addition to new countries in the index ranking, mainly in Africa, which included Zambia and Zimbabwe, both of which surpassed Ghana in the ranking, Ken.
And what does this really mean for the country?
The report links English proficiency to workforce productivity, innovation, and access to global opportunities. So the drop to 6th place in Africa matters. It signals that while Ghana's English skills may be improving slowly in absolute terms, other African countries are improving faster. In relative terms, Ghana is losing ground. For investors, employers, and international partners, rankings are comparative. Falling behind peers can affect perceptions of workforce readiness, especially for sectors that rely heavily on communication.
Gemma Pia, thank you very much. And as Ghana marks 33 years of uninterrupted constitutional rule, the National Commission for Civic Education has reiterated that the 1992 Constitution remains the supreme law of the land and that its principle must guide conduct in both physical and digital spaces. The Commission has also urged government to educate the public on the proposals and content of the draft constitutional review. Well, meanwhile, the Member of Parliament for Minsha South, Nana J. Bafo Ewua, has described the Constitution as fairly successful, but warns against the holistic amendment of the constitutions. He spoke earlier on Joy News.
We should go past an experiment, right? Or we should go past holistic or substantial experiment. What we have is working. Parts of it which are not working, you touch them. And so, yes, I would support parts of the constitutional reforms proposal, right? But I will not support a substantial amendment. And indeed, even with the Constitutional Review Committee, I wait to see the explanatory notes, right, as to what has informed the proposal choices, because it is not only an amendment they are proposing. They are also proposing that it should be amended, to capture a certain effect.
And a few of your messages that you've been sending on our WhatsApp console is what I'm about to read to you. And this is from Nana Ekuamwa Boatin in Ablekuma Central. He says, today is exactly 1 year this government was sworn into office. Abuse of power and blatant violation of human rights is the order of the day. Ghanaians, through no fault of theirs, had the appointment terminated. Interesting days ahead. And this is from Charles in Legon, and he says, when will the MPP begin to show some respect to Ghanaians? They think we don't know that they are the ones that destroyed our forests and water bodies. And that's how we end News 9 tonight. Thank you very much for your company. My name is Kenneth.